What's good, Atlanta? This is a Blog and Dirty podcast where bird is the word if you haven't heard. I'm John Buhler, staff writer, FanSided.com. Well, today we're going to welcome back a friend of the program, the other crazed lunatic Falcons fan from the Minute Media Network, the one and only Iain MacMillan of Sports Illustrated, senior editor. Welcome back to the show, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, John. I mean, I always like talking Falcons. I don't really have any other friends who are Falcons fans, so I rarely actually get to just deep dive into Falcons. So I'm always happy to jump on and do that with you.
Yes, I had a feeling that, growing up in Nova Scotia and obviously picking this team randomly because of Madden, and then obviously going to New York and everything, probably not running into very many people like me.
No, my friends are all kind of scattered. I got a Chargers fan, a Packers fan, Broncos fan, a Colts fan. They're all kind of cheer for different teams. Actually, before I kind of got into sports media, my first job out of college was for a bank, and there was randomly a guy I worked with at that bank who was a massive Falcons fan. I miss that guy. I don't remember his name, but we used to talk Falcons. He was the most random Falcons fan. Like I think the only other Canadian Falcons fan that existed. We both worked at the same bank. So I forget your name, buddy, out there, but shout out to you.
Yeah, for now he's known as Bud. No, yeah. I love this. This is perfect. Yes. So Iain and I are still riding very high after what happened on Sunday with, a win over the Saints to get to 2-2. Would have been really bad if we didn't get that win. But it's a short week. We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming to town on Thursday night, first and Thursday night football. Hopefully you've got Prime. I'm going to be able to watch it locally here, but very excited about that game. But I'm also very nervous about that game. How are you feeling about the Bucs right now?
Very nervous. I'm sure we're going to kind of get into it overall, our thoughts about the Falcons so far this season. But at the end of the day, I mean, preseason, I think probably both of us expected the Falcons to be 2-2 at this point of the season. We thought that probably the win was going to be against the Steelers and we were going to lose to the Eagles maybe. So those got flipped, but at the end of the day, we are 2-2, which is pretty much, if you told me preseason we'd be 2-2 heading into this Thursday night game, I'd be like, all right, I will take that. So, I am nervous though. I mean, I am a betting man, obviously, and the point spread is the Falcons are 1.5 point favorites. So it's basically a coin flip game, but it is a game that could have huge importance as the season goes on and as we kind of figure out who the winner of the NFC South is going to be. So, I mean, all these divisional games are big, and this one's certainly a big one.
No question. Before we get there, we're going to get effing set. I think that's really important that we got to do that right now with the ticker. I'm working the ticker today. This is great. Yeah, producer Sean's allowing me to do this for better or worse, but this is what we're gonna do with the Blogging Dirty podcast. But we're gonna be going here with some Koo-Koo-Kachoo. Yes, Younghoe Koo. Forgot to make that ticker thing here, but yes, Younghoe Koo made a 58-yard field goal, longest of his career, to win the game over the Saints. Take me back to that moment, like watching the game, like. How are you processing this in real time? I was losing my mind in the Saints house, actually.
Yeah. I mean, this is obviously it was a big rivalry game for us. The Falcons, in my opinion, probably should have won that game. I mean, they ended up doing it, but I did not think we were going to pull it out of the very end. Myself, much like I think a lot of other Falcons fans, were very confused as to why we were on the edge of field goal range, but yet we took 3 straight deep shots. Like, shouldn't we just be running a play to get 5 to 10 yards more to make this kick a lot easier? I don't know if that was on Kirk Cousins or if that was play calling of, Zach Robinson's part. But at the end of the day, man, when he lined up to kick a 58-yard field goal, I didn't think he was going to make it. I did not think Younghoe Koo had that kick. He's in him. He had that distance in him. He's not exactly known as a long distance kicker. He's kind of more known as an accuracy guy. So a 58-yarder, I mean, with that being said, this year's NFL season seems like 60-yarders have become the norm. But I just straight up did not think Younghoe Koo had the leg power to get there from 58, and he did. So it was a magical moment. That is now 2 games between this game and the Eagles game that the Falcons won, where previous iterations of this team would not win those games. So I was very happy.
Yeah, me too, man. Like I'm sitting there. I think Heem after the game was like, "These are games that you can build upon." Like this is, like you said, these are not Falcons games. We've seen it go the other way so many times. Again, there's no normal Falcons game ever. They all play ridiculous. It's the exact same thing every single time. But I'm watching this game, so whatever they did to allow the Saints to score with like a minute left, I'm like, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing? We have no timeouts left. We've got to go the length of the field. It's like 3rd and 10. You're gonna need 5 more yards to get in Koo's range. And then Robinson's like, yeah, Kirk, just throw it as far as you possibly can, knowing that the ball may or may not get picked off. Obviously, the PI on the Saints defender was a huge help. And I'm looking at Koo as he's kicking the ball. I'm like, I don't know if he's far enough back. I don't know if he's gonna make it. And he was nails. It was unbelievable. One of my favorite kicks as a Falcons fan ever, honestly. Maybe I'm living in the moment here. It was insane.
Yeah, it's got to be up there, especially in a rivalry game. That's going to be one for for the memory books.
So, like you said at the top of the show, we're 2-2. Obviously, we thought we'd win the Steelers game. We thought we would lose the Eagles game, and obviously the Saints and Chiefs games kind of went as expected, although down to the wire. You have to feel good about being 2-2. Obviously, don't want to go 2-3, but again, the schedule evens up. It gets much less difficult there, the final 2/3 for sure.
Well, does it though?
Exactly.
Because here's the issue. So this might be my number one biggest concern about the Falcons, and of course, this is going to happen to the Falcons. Before the season started, the Falcons had by far the easiest schedule. If you looked at projected team win totals for the season, the Falcons had by far the easiest schedule with their opponents. But now all the teams that were supposed to be easy have turned out to be great teams, because obviously the Falcons finished in 3rd last year, so they're playing a bunch of 3rd place teams. And if you go through them, they're all winning their divisions. The AFC North, and obviously that game was already passed, but the Steelers 3rd in the AFC North last year, they're winning that division. The Seahawks 3rd place in the NFC West last year, so we play them this year. They're winning their division. The NFC
the Vikings, yeah,
they're winning the NFC, the entire conference as a whole.
I think the Commanders look really good too.
And then the Commanders look good now. So yeah, these teams that were supposed to be, now the Commanders are a little different because we're playing the entire NFC East anyways. But still, the Commanders are a team that before the season we kind of checked off that game against the Commanders as a win. Now not so much. So actually, if you look at, I'm going to bring it up here really quick. Schedule difficulty now. The Falcons have the 5th hardest schedule. So based on opponent win percentage now, we now have the 5th hardest schedule. Now, to be fair, 4-game sample size, so still pretty early in the season, that could change. But yeah, before the season started, we thought, okay, we get through this tough gauntlet of games to start, and then life is easy the rest of the season. We've gotten through the tough gauntlet, and now we're looking at the schedule and we're like, this doesn't actually get any easier. We got the Vikings, we got the Buccaneers twice who have looked great. We got the Seahawks who have looked great, the Commanders who have looked great. The Chargers, who not great, but at least a very good defensive disciplined team, which is going to cause a lot of issues for a lot of teams. So even the Panthers,
yes,
the Panthers with Bryce Young were like 2 easy wins. Now we should still beat the Panthers in both those games. We're going to be favored in those games. But those are no longer easy wins. Even the Giants, which was, in theory going to be an easy win, the Giants have looked feisty at times too. So the schedule, which was supposed to be in the Falcons' favor, it does not look that to be the case anymore.
But then again, like you look at this team, I don't think everybody's like looking at the Falcons like, oh, they're going to keel over and die. I'm like, no, this team plays like all 60 minutes. It goes either way and stuff. This is a different team. It's been fun to watch thus far, and we'll talk a little bit more about the Bucs game here in a second. But you got any other last thoughts before we talk about the rest of the league?
No.
I don't think so. Cool. We are going to go around the perimeter here with some thoughts around the league here. Anything that like stands out to you out for the other 31? For me, Jacksonville's cooked. Jacksonville is in a really bad spot.
Yeah, Jaguars are cooked. But overall, if I'm just talking with the league as a whole, the AFC, it seems to me, is going to be the usual suspects at the top. It's going to be the Chiefs, it's going to be the Bills, it's going to be the Ravens, and then the Texans are going to be like kind of the 4th team in that conference. And the storyline to me in the AFC is if the Texans can kind of take that next step up. So I think the AFC is going to look a lot similar to it has the past couple of seasons, especially as last year. But then the NFC, is completely wide open. Now, that could work in our favor in a sense that, like, I don't think the 49ers are going to be the clear, easy number 1 seed anymore. You know, they have injuries. Their defense has been playing well. But then teams like the Vikings, teams like the Seahawks, teams like the Commanders are taking up wild card spots that I thought were going to be a lot more open and available. I thought getting a wild card spot in the NFC could be, you know, relatively achievable feat this season. I don't know if 10-7 is going to be good enough to win a wild card spot this year. With how some of these teams are playing. So you might have to go 11-6 just to get a wild card spot. So that to me is kind of my takeaway from the league wide through the first few weeks is the AFC is very much going to be similar to last year. The NFC is going to be completely mixed up.
Yeah, NFC is going to be a bloodbath here. It's really hard at this point. Like, can you really cross anybody off in the NFC at this point? I would probably lean, if anybody, maybe the Giants. Rams look pretty rough right now too.
I mean, we can cross the Panthers off. I know the Panthers are a little bit more feisty with Andy Dalton, but their defense still stinks. I mean, Andy Dalton is better than Bryce Young, which is sad to see, but he's still not, you know, a top tier quarterback. So I think we can, in the NFC, we can cross off. We can cross off the Panthers. We can cross off the Giants, and that's probably it.
Yeah, it's like 1 or 2, maybe the Rams. I don't know what's going on with that team.
The Rams, the Rams are pretty banged up, but I mean, you know, if they can keep their head above water and then get some, you know, some injuries back, some guys who are injured back in the lineup, then they could be strong in the second half of the season too. So I'm not ready to cross them off. I think it's the Panthers and the Giants, and that's it.
Yes. I was looking across the board in the AFC. You know, we talk about the same teams sort of the top. You know, you got the Chiefs. You know, you got the Texans looking pretty good there for the most part. And then the AFC South, obviously the Bills look really good. And the AFC North's a bloodbath. I'm looking over there at the Dolphins. That's not looking good right now either.
Dolphins are not good. We can cross the Dolphins off. We can cross the Titans off. We can cross the Jaguars probably off. We can cross
maybe the Browns. Browns are looking pretty rough too.
Browns you can probably cross off. Raiders, even though they're 2-0, I've not been impressed by the Raiders. There's more teams. I mean, the Dolphins were my Super Bowl pick, so not good. But at least I can just blame that on Tua getting hurt.
Yeah, I know. I had a dream where Tua was like at a press conference. He's like, I have to play. And everyone's like, no, you don't. And Dan Marino throws like a chicken wing at him to tell him to stop or something like that. If you're Miami at this point, like, do you look for a quarterback? I feel like maybe Cam Ward comes up from the U. Maybe that could be a good fit. Maybe you go get like Milroe or something.
In terms of the draft?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, like, I don't think Tua should play another down.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not a doctor, but I mean, that many concussions is not good. I will say it does kind of remind me of Sidney Crosby in the NHL, who suffered a ton of concussions a number of years in a row, and he ended up coming back, and he's played now 5 years since he's had concussion issues, and he's been concussion-free. But then you also look, I mean, I don't want to keep, you know, showing my Canadian by referencing hockey, but I mean, Eric Lindros has got a ton of concussions and never came back. So I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I can't evaluate whether or not Tua could or should come back. And I think before the Dolphins decide what direction they want to go in the draft, they got to figure that out. That's not an answer they probably have right now. It's, you know, a question that they have a lot of time between now and then to find that answer to. But yeah, if his concussions are, you know, a serious issue and their doctors say that, and he goes to specialists and the specialists say the same thing, then yeah, they got to go to quarterback. And at this rate, they might have one of the top picks. So, or maybe even if Tua does come back, you draft a quarterback anyways. I mean, that would be them drafting a quarterback, even when they have Tua, would be less crazy than the Falcons taking Penix when he just signed Kirk Cousins. So why not?
Imagine drafting Milroe, get another Alabama guy there. Why not? It'd be just be a circus. Maybe get Quinn Ewers because he'll just get hurt immediately. Because that could be interesting there. Any other thoughts about the league? I have to admit a defeat with the Vikings. I was so wrong about them. Kevin O'Connell's a fantastic coach. I love that Sam Darnold's playing well. Still think Quezzy's a good GM, but they're having a good time right up there in the Twin Cities. So God bless them. Yeah,
I had a lot. I think one guy messaged me before the season started, and he said Sam Darnold MVP. And I laughed when I read the message. So if this keeps up, I have a lot of apologies that I need to send out. So, but at the end of the day, we do need to remember, and we fall victim to this as football fans, that it's a 4-game sample size.
Yeah.
And we fall victim to it because there's only 1 game a week and only 17 games in a season. So sometimes, even though it's 4 games, it's been a month. So it feels, I mean, it has in terms of time-wise, it has been a long time. A month of the Vikings playing good is a long time. But if this was the NBA and the Detroit Pistons got off to a 4-0 start and played really well in those 4 games, you wouldn't all of a sudden be considering the Detroit Pistons as top-tier contenders, right?
No, it'd be like if they got like a 12-3 start, maybe like that's how many games equals like 4 games. But even at that point, you're like, maybe there could be a scheduling anomaly. I mean, even in like college football, there's like some teams where it's like, they haven't really played anybody in like conference play. Like Duke's 5-0. They beat UNC, who I don't think is good. I don't know how great Duke is. Maybe they could get to Charlotte or something like that. But like, again, the small sample size gets bigger. But even at that point, we still don't really know. Honestly, we don't really know until after like Thanksgiving or like when
but still, at the end of the day, to contradict myself, they have beaten the 49ers, the Texans, and the Packers. So it's not like they've had the easiest schedule in the world either. But it's a 4-game sample size. I need a little bit more for me to 100% buy in on the Vikings being a true contender. I mean, us Falcons fans will remember it was one of the seasons under Dan Quinn. Was it his last season, his second last season? Didn't we start 5-0 or 6-0 and then we finish 8-8? So it's possible. It's possible for the Vikings to be 5-0, 6-0, and then finish the season 8-8. So let's pump the brakes a little bit. Very impressive start, but I'm not ready to completely buy in on that team just quite yet.
I think it was either the Super Bowl year or the year after, like the 15, 16, 17, the Vikings did that with Sam Bradford, and they were the last undefeated team, and it hit the fan there. But yeah, I don't know if you saw this last little bit about the Vikings. I think it's interesting. I saw this with I think it was on Rich Eisen show. The Vikings have trailed for like 3 minutes and 30 seconds. They're the only team in football that has trailed that little. Everybody else has trailed for like 26 minutes or more. And the only team that they trailed to briefly was the Giants, which is insane.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Yeah, we'll see if they can keep up. Or we'll see if they do get down, do they have the ability to come back?
I don't know. It'll be a different team when we play them later. Maybe we'll get Adam Patrick of the Vikings age on, talk about that later. But we're going to move on to our game. We're going to be about the ball. We are going to be all about the ball here with the Falcons playing the Buccaneers. Again, you said the line is now down to 1.5 Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz, which means on a neutral site, Bucks are 1.5 point favorite. And in Tampa, that's about closer to 5, I think, right?
Conventional thinking was that home field advantage is worth 3 points. That has changed in recent years. It's now more like 1.5 to 2 points. So I would say neutral field right now, it's probably a pick 'em. And then in Tampa Bay, it's probably Buccaneers -1.5. So odds makers, I mean, given half a point here or there. But yeah, because I see why you say that. Conventional. For a long time, home field advantage was always worth 3 points. That has changed recently over the past just probably even 3 to 4 years. It's kind of come down to about 1.5, 2 points. But so I think generally odds makers and kind of sharp bettors are evaluating these two teams as exactly the same. They think on a neutral field, this game's a coin flip.
Well, that's why I bring on the program. You're just smarter about me about these sort of things. I just spit out fiery takes that are wrong, and you actually come up with money on both sides analysis. It's great. At the start of the year, I think I had the Buccaneers as a wild card team. I don't know if you had them and you thought the division was kind of down, but obviously Tampa's gotten off to a pretty good start. I thought that they made the Eagles look really bad last week. That team's falling apart at the seams.
Yeah. I mean, but also the Buccaneers lost to the Broncos by a wide margin 2 weeks before that. So, I mean, the Buccaneers are kind of, when I look at the Buccaneers and I look at their stats and metrics, they're kind of average at everything. They're like above average in just about every single area offensively. They're below average in every single area defensively. But they do kind of just rely on how good of a game Baker Mayfield has, because Baker Mayfield is kind of a hot and cold guy. When he's at his best, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, but he has a lower floor than I think a lot of other quarterbacks do as well. So yeah, if it depends on what version of Baker Mayfield shows up, it depends what we can do defensively to kind of put Baker Mayfield in a bit of a tough spot. But that makes the Buccaneers tricky because they're not bad. They're not elite or great at anything, but they're not bad at anything either.
No, I think you're spot on though. It all comes down to how well Baker plays. And I've wondered from afar, if the OC change from Dave Canellis to Liam Cohen, if that's, I know he's worked with Liam Cohen briefly with the Rams a little bit when he was there for that cup of coffee, but obviously Canellis came in last year. They had a lot of success. You're kind of wondering at the same point, maybe the offense is not quite clicking yet. defensively, that's a little bit concerning for them. I think that like that's kind of been their culture under Todd Bowles, and maybe it's just not there right now. But we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, if we want to talk about this game, my biggest concern is, and this is kind of my overall thoughts about the Falcons through the first 4 games, because the Falcons have been a weird team to watch, because from the eye test, I'm watching them and they're like, well, like they're kind of moving the ball, but they kind of don't really get much to show for it. So I kind of dove into their numbers a little bit, and they do rank very high in things like yards per play, opponent yards per play, more of the kind of simple, straightforward metrics. I think they're actually like top 5 in the NFL right now in net yards per play. But then you look at the advanced metrics, like in sports betting, hardcore sports bettors look at these things like success rate, DVOA, EPA, those types of things. The Falcons are like bottom 5 in the NFL. I think what it comes down to, and I looked at this game in terms of metrics for much longer than I should have this week, because the Falcons aren't making sense to me. Yeah. What it comes down to is third down offense and red zone offense, because they're moving the ball, but then they're not converting on third down. Actually, I'm going to bring it up right now. They rank right now in third down conversion rate 29th in the NFL. They're converting only 26.32% of their third down opportunities. And then they get to the red zone and they rank 29th in red zone touchdown scoring percentage, scoring a touchdown on only 40% of the red zone trips. So that's why, like, when I'm watching them, and then to just kind of, compare that, yards per play, so just how many yards they're averaging per play, 10th, 5.8. So they're kind of moving the ball on first and second down, not converting third downs, and when they do get to the red zone, they're not getting in the end zone. That's going to be tough to win long term. So both their success on Thursday night and their success moving as we go throughout the NFL season is going to come down to if they can fix those issues. Can they convert third downs to first downs? Can they get in the end zone when they get down the red zone and stop settling for field goals? Now, what's causing that issue? Is that the play of Kirk Cousins? Is that the play of the players? Is it an issue of Zach Robinson's kind of still figuring things out at offensive coordinator? I don't know. But that's kind of my conclusion about the Falcons, and that's kind of how I feel about their game on Thursday night. If they can convert third downs against the Buccaneers, if they can convert red zone trips to touchdowns, they're going to win this game. If they continue to have that issue, the Buccaneers are a good enough team. They're going to be able to take advantage of it. And at the very least, it's going to come down to a last-second field goal, if not just beat up on Atlanta. So that's my evaluation of this game.
I'm right there with you. As soon as you said, like, okay, third down, and then obviously you're struggling in the red zone, I'm like, okay, is it Cousins is like fading athleticism, or is it, Zach Robinson is still trying to figure out what he's doing as a play caller? I loved in the Saints game that they used Tyler Algier to kind of like really just bully because they went right after like the linebacking core there for the Saints, because they were really depleted there with Willie Gay and Demario Davis out. So that's significant. I have this one other thought that's in the back of my mind. One thing I noticed that was different with the Saints game than the previous 3, I feel that like Derek Carr's lack of mobility gave the Falcons a huge edge, whereas like Fields can run. We know that Hurts can run. Mahomes is sneaky good mobile. Mayfield's kind of like Carr, like Cousins and stuff there too. We know that like they all kind of play the same, where like they can be hot and cold. They can turn the ball over all the time. Do you think that's a factor that's potentially in the Falcons' edge here at home versus the night that Matt Ryan's going to be in the Ring of Honor, get 2 in a row? That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, is Baker Mayfield mobile? I feel like he kind of is, but also he's not. He's not fast, but I feel like he is slippery at times. But that's all. I mean, that's been a concern of as long as I've cheered for the Falcons. It feels like they've always struggled against mobile quarterbacks. Lost to Colin Kaepernick in that NFC Championship game. He ran all over us. Russell Wilson beat us once with the Seahawks. He's running all over us. So, I would much rather face non-mobile quarterbacks. A lack of pass rush, it's going to be, our lack of pass rush is going to be exaggerated even more so when the quarterback they're trying to get is also mobile, because then we're just never going to get them. So non-mobile guys, at least we have a chance. That could play a factor. But I do feel like Baker's kind of slippery though.
Yeah, a little bit. It's kind of sneaky there a little bit. The lack of pass rush. I was looking at the stats there and I'm like, who's like getting sacks besides Grady Jarrett and Matthew Judon? Like, Nobody.
Yeah, it's not. The pass rush is a problem. It's a real problem. So I'm excited to we use our first pick in the draft next year on like a running back again instead of a pass rusher. That'll be fun. Let's take a third quarterback next year in the draft.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's get Kua back up. Because clearly he needs one.
Yeah, there we go.
Do you think there's any like correlation there with switching defenses from Ryan Nielsen to Jimmy Lake? I think it's a scheme change, so maybe they got to get the right guys in there. But again, I'm not seeing any of these rookies that we drafted playing. Like I haven't seen hardly any of them out there for the defense. It's been really weird.
Yeah, I feel like defensively, I feel like we're, at least when I look at the metrics and numbers, I don't know about the X's and O's. I don't watch the all 22, but I feel like defensively we're just as good, if not slightly better than we were last year. I mean, we didn't have a pass rush last year either, but without a pass rush, we've still been pretty solid against the pass, which is kind of crazy. So, and that was a big concern I had, was the Falcons secondary, kind of their lack of depth. Mike Hughes has been great. So yeah, my concerns about this team right now aren't defensively. Pass rush is a concern, but we've still managed to do what we can without a pass rush. I think it comes down to when you have two elite safeties, that's just going to completely shut down the middle of the field. Which has been massive. So teams have to kind of game plan for that. But yeah, I don't really have any concerns about the defense. I mean, at the end of the day, whether or not we can be a playoff team and get a playoff win, if not more, is going to come down to how effective we can be offensively.
Exactly. Yes. The safety play has been as advertised. I feel like linebacker play, they play within themselves. They seem to be very, trying to think what the word is, like they don't make a lot of mistakes up there. I don't feel obviously AJ Terrell is going to play a little bit better. D. Alfred's been playing really well. Mike Hughes has been playing phenomenally. Obviously going up against Mike Evans, big body there. Hopefully we can shut him down in some capacity. That could be a guy that Baker Mayfield looks to, but that could be also a guy that Justin Simmons hones in on and picks a ball off.
I am curious how the Falcons handle the fact the Bucs have two elite receivers. Because I don't think that's been an issue so far this season, right? Steelers, no. Chiefs, no.
No. I mean, like,
I guess Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave, but that's not Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. So
no, like on paper, like the Eagles had that with like Smith and Brown, but obviously AJ Brown was out and everything like that. And then Devontae Smith's now kind of banged up because he weighs like 150 pounds.
Yeah. So how we're going to handle that, having both Chris Godwin and Mike, if the Buccaneers win this game, that's going to be what's going to happen. Like I do have kind of a bad vision of just like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, eating us alive a little bit. So that's going to be tough.
Yeah, I needed Kirk Cousins to, play well and, match Baker Mayfield with touchdowns, like actually throw one. That'd be wonderful. Maybe to Kyle Pitts, because who doesn't get any separation anymore, which is so frustrating.
I'm out on Kyle Pitts.
Okay.
If anyone watching wants to buy a Kyle Pitts signed helmet, I'll sell it to you for a good price. I'm out. I'm out. He's not good. He can't block. He can't get separation. I'm out. He had one good season. I don't know if he's not training in the off season. I don't know if he just just stopped caring. I don't know what it is. I'm out on Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, just go Dogs. That's all I really got to say to that.
We blame the quarterbacks the past two seasons. I mean, he has a quarterback now, and when you watch him, he's just not creating separation. So you got to create separation. I'm out. Or be a very good blocker, but he's not a good blocker either. So we can't even use him there. I'm out. Get rid of him. Trade him while he still has value. Get a pass rusher.
I will say though, it's been nice having Drake London starting to get even better. Darnell Mooney's getting open. Ray McLeod's playing above his head right now. I'm loving that.
Those offseason acquisitions have exceeded expectations so far.
I wish Rondale Moore was part of this team too. I wonder what he could have done. Yes,
that'd be great.
That would be great. But you know what's going to be great? Matt Ryan getting into the Ring of Honor. That is going to be so unbelievably exciting. We're going to do some Matty Ice, baby. Yes. The quarterback for the duration of our fandoms for 14 years, he was absolutely fantastic. Arthur Blank got inducted himself there during the Chiefs game. And obviously Matt Ryan lives locally, does games and studio work for CBS. A little long overdue. Obviously, we probably think the world of Matt Ryan and everything like that and what he's meant to the franchise and everything like that. But I'm really excited for him and his family, and I hope that the rest of the NFL world understands what we had for 14 years. He'll never get the credit he deserves.
No, never. Yeah, obviously. I mean, we were talking, or I was talking actually the last podcast I was on. I had to sit there and take 28-3 jokes, and I complained about how I have to hear about 28-3 jokes all the time for the rest of my life. No one has to hear that more than Matt Ryan, and that sucks. That's the guy I feel bad for the most. I wish we got him that Super Bowl win, but at the end of the day, I mean, he was MVP. It's a nice feeling to have just a steady quarterback you know is going to be your guy every single year. Before Matt Ryan, we didn't have that. Well, obviously, we had Mike Vick. He had his problems. And then we had a stretch of some bad quarterback play. It wasn't Joey Harrington, our quarterback, for a cup of coffee. And
Byron Leftwich. Yeah. It was
Byron Leftwich. Yeah. And then after the Matt Ryan era, now we have Kirk Cousins, who we'll see how that pans out. But then obviously we had Marcus Mariota and Desmond Ridder. So it's nice as a fan of a team to just not have that issue of a quarterback. So yeah, Matt Ryan's, one of my favorite athletes of all time. Shout out to him.
Yes. My favorite thing about him in general was it wasn't always going well for him. I think he came to a franchise that didn't really know what it was doing. He never had back-to-back winning seasons prior to him getting here. Went to the playoffs 6 times. In the history of the Falcons, they've been 12 or 13 times. So he accounts for half of them. He's top 10 in pretty much every passing metric, 1 MVP, 4 Pro Bowls. And I feel that people hold that against him. I wish it could have been 5. I'm well, Phillip Rivers played in the AFC with a bunch of empty calorie nonsense there with the Chargers. He was good, but never had the success that Matt Ryan did. And everyone's Eli Manning gets in there. I'm Eli Manning couldn't spell Eli if you give him all 3 letters or 5, whatever, it doesn't matter. He's just, he's getting it for 2 games. And I look at quarterbacks like Matt Ryan, like Ken Anderson, like Boomer Esiason, where I know they're both of the Bengals, but they were just not good organizations at the time. And they overcame that. And they took their teams to unprecedented new heights. Where you go matters. And what Matt Ryan did, he made every single person he threw the ball to better. Every single one. People would leave. Nobody did better leaving Matt Ryan. Just ask Austin Hooper how his career is going. Yeah, good job leaving him there, bud.
Yeah. Comes down to the Super Bowl. I think if he won that Super Bowl, he's a no-brainer Hall of Famer. And now I don't know. Does he get in the Hall of Fame?
I think in time, enough people will come to their senses and stuff. I mean, they put Kurt Warner in there. He played 4 years.
But it comes down to Super Bowl.
Yeah,
unfortunately for quarterback, for no other position do they care if you won a Super Bowl. Quarterback, you got to have Super Bowl wins. You don't have to, but and if he wins that 28-3 game, he's probably a no-brainer.
Yeah, he's in that really close margin there with Ken Anderson, with Boomer Esiason, with Donovan McNabb, with Randall Cunningham. Well, he's not eligible yet, but he'll probably get in.
Yeah, I was just but
yeah, it's so close.
But Phillip Rivers is kind of the same, the same boat. No Super Bowl, great numbers, great career.
Yeah, and you got Cam Newton's kind of in that same sort of group too. Didn't last as long, but was brilliant there for a while. Hated playing against him.
Yeah, you want to talk about mobile quarterbacks who torched us? There's one.
I know, and he was also at Auburn, just torching Georgia too. Yeah, he was all over the place as well. This is the first time they've had 2 Ring of Honor people go in at the same time, Arthur Blank and Matt Ryan. I guess my next question is who's next? Who's kind of the next guy that you think that go in any number of directions?
I have no idea who would be next.
As much as I want it to be Julio, I think he's got to mend some fences a little bit to get back in good graces with Arthur Blank.
I'll be I don't know if it's a fact that I've never been to an Atlanta game. I'm not from Atlanta, but I got to look up to see who's in a Ring of Honor.
Because I was just
I don't even know who the next name would be.
Okay, you could do trying to think you could, somebody like Jonathan Babineau would be a candidate for that, played his whole career there. Kind of like Tom McClure was in it too. There's guys that have been with the team for a really long time.
Is Roddy White in it yet?
Yeah, Roddy White's in there. Warwick Dunn's in there. Keith Brookings not in there, which is silly, given that he's from there. Deion Sanders is, Claude Humphrey, Jesse Tuggle, Willie Andrews, Morton Anderson's not. It's all over the place. It's just
was Tony Gonzalez in Atlanta enough for a long enough time to be in there?
He's there for 5 years, like Deion Sanders. Just put him in. Why not? Who cares?
Yeah,
it's fun.
Sure.
Yeah. Let's
put Tony Gonzalez with the Falcons that long? Was he there 5 years?
I think it was 13,
I would have guessed
11,
3.
yeah, 9 to 13. I think when he was there, and he was a Pro Bowl, I think, like the
so
bulk of the time.
2009. Yeah, 5 years. Wow.
So yeah, it's I think you gotta honor people that put you in the seats, that made you a fan, that made you excited to watch. And
yeah,
I mean,
so that's my pick, is Tony Gonzalez to be the next one.
Yeah, do it like next time there's like a Thursday night football game and he's working like with Amazon or something like that. That could work. I mean, we get one of those a year, maybe in 2 years they stack it out a little bit. Arthur Blank had to put himself in there while he still can do this.
I respect him for doing that, by the way. Why not put yourself in? Have a big night.
So I was there.
Some free hot dogs.
That man cares about hot dogs and hardware.
Yes, put yourself in. What do you do? Wait until you're dead and then someone else puts you in? Who cares then? Put yourself in the Ring of Honor.
Yeah, you got to count on Josh Blank to do it posthumously. Like,
no.
I love that. That was actually a pretty cool power move, and he's doing a lot for the city. Obviously, he founded Home Depot.
Yeah, I like Arthur Blank. If he was like a bad owner, then I wouldn't be for it. But I mean, he's been a good owner.
Yeah, he's been a good owner. He's invested a lot in the community, both the football field and the soccer pitch.
Especially, we've seen examples, especially the past couple of years, some bad owners, some terrible owners. So, like, I am thankful for Arthur Blank. Put yourself in the Ring of Honor, man.
Yeah, he's got a new children's hospital. They relocated Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, like out further to the Arthur M. Blank Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. It's this new state-of-the-art thing out where my sister and brother-in-law live. It's really cool. But everyone's like, no, don't go here anymore. There's no kids hospitals here anymore. You gotta go further out. So it's like everything's moving away from downtown except for Falcons.
I don't. How did Arthur Blank make his money?
He founded Home Depot, dude.
Oh, right. I did know that.
Him and Bernie Marcus founded it. I think they were like some people with Ace Hardware back in the day in like the 70s. Then like I don't know how like two people from like Queens, New York ended up in Atlanta, Georgia, but like they ended up here, and they kind of went like big box. I think maybe Lowe's had existed. Maybe they kind of created their own thing, but like that's how he made his money.
I did know that. I forgot. But yeah, that makes sense. Shout out Arthur Blank.
Shout out Arthur Blank. Yes. I'm really anxious. I bet you Matt Ryan's going to probably tear up a little bit when he gets inducted. I think this is going to mean a lot for him and his family.
Yep. Yeah, although the way that Matt Ryan left was a little not great.
No, that was all on Arthur Blank too, with trying to play flirt with Deshaun Watson, and we see how much of a psychopath that guy is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm really excited about that game. Hopefully, we're not down like 28-3 at halftime when we're inducting him in the Ring of Honor. That'd be brutal.
Yeah. Let's get a win.
Let's get to 3-2. I guess the next thought is like we should be wanting 3-2. Like if we get 3-2, we're in a really good spot. If 2-3, is it that much worse?
I think we're fine if we're 2-3. The issue that if we fall to 2-3, because I mean these divisional games, especially against a team that's going to be competing for the division title, it just makes the game in a few weeks where we're at Tampa Bay like a must win. Yes. So it'd be nice to not have the pressure of that game not being a must win. We're not out of it. The season's not over if we fall to 2-3, but yeah, I mean, we have a stretch of games coming up that did look easy earlier in the season and now looks a little bit more difficult. Although the Dallas game might be more winnable now. Yeah, I would still much rather be 3-2, but I'm not counting us out the rest of the year if we fall to 2-3. It just makes, like I said, that next Tampa game in a few weeks a must win. If we lose that game, then we might be toast.
You're absolutely right. That's it's not 3-2, it's 2-0 in division, because you gotta against a team like the Saints and the Bucs, you have to win at home because winning on the road is so hard. Any given year following this division, it's like I never pick anybody to go better than 4-2 just because of the way it goes. There's always one team that stinks. It was the Bucs for a long time. It's been us before. Used to be the Saints. Now it's the Panthers. So maybe you hope for a sweep, but at that point, like you can't really. I don't feel like you can go like, yeah, we're gonna go 5-1. Yeah, we're gonna go 6-0. Like that's not happening. That's not how the NFC South works.
Right. And I mean, there's a very good chance at the end of the season, your divisional record decides if you win the division or not. Because I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if one of these two teams between the Falcons, Saints, and Bucs finished with the same record. I mean, didn't the Saints and Bucs finish with the same record? So it came down to divisional standings, I think. I'm just double checking that right now. Yeah, they both finished 9-8. So it came down to actually divisional. They're both 4-2. So I don't know what it was after that. Common opponents or conference play. But my point is, there's a very good chance two teams in the division will have the same record at the end of the year. So that makes these divisional games even more important.
I know. I'm starting to get nervous that it's just going to be only one team getting in from the division this year. I'm absolutely terrified right now.
Yeah. With the way the Vikings and Seahawks and Commanders have been playing, those wild card spots are not as up for grabs as they used to seem.
I feel you right there. We're going to move on to our penultimate topic with, we're going to bring this over from False Start because this is fun. We're going to go with a Tam Impala song called The Less I Know, The Better. So this is kind of like a good, barometric way to test, where you are at a season. So the way my fanside.com colleague and boss and False Start co-host do it is it's like 3-part questions. Like, okay, what did I get the most right? What did I learn? And what am I going to keep getting the most wrong? So Iain, what through the first 4 games were you the most right about with the Atlanta Falcons?
I think their defense. I think I've pretty much predicted their defense exactly. I knew we weren't going to have a pass rush. I knew they were good last year. I figured they'd take a small step forward. I guess I expected some teams to be able to take it. I didn't think Mike Hughes is going to be as good as he has been. But overall, the defense, I think I've been mostly right about.
I'm kind of right there with you. I would say for me, just to be a little bit more specific, is I thought the additions of Justin Simmons and Matthew Judon were going to make an impact very quickly, and they have. We've seen them both tip games in our favor, obviously, or giving the team a chance to win. With Simmons with a pick versus the Chiefs, and obviously Judon with a couple of plays versus the Eagles. Obviously, the deflected pass off of Derek Carr that went into Troy Anderson's hand. That's why I went out there. You went from having 3 really good high-end players on defense with Grady Jarrett, AJ Terrell, and Jesse Bates III. Now you have 5. And that makes other players like Mike Hughes look even better. So I've been very, very pleased with those 2 additions. And give Terry Fontenot a lot of credit for going out there and doing it very late.
Yes. Also, I'm going to change my answer. I was correct about the Falcons being 2-2.
Yes. I love that. Right there with you. What would you say is the thing about the Falcons that you've learned the most through the first 4 weeks, good, bad, or ugly, or fantastic?
I think what I've learned the most, 2 things. Number one, I've already talked about. I think I've learned, and maybe not learned, but I've come to accept that Kyle Pitts sucks. So that's number one. Number 2 is that I think I learned that this offense does need a little bit of time to truly get going. And it's something that I should have saw coming into the season with Kirk Cousins coming off that injury from last year, with Zach Robinson being a new offense coordinator. He's never been an offensive coordinator. He's never been a play caller. I should have probably predicted, or I should have saw coming that the Falcons offense was going to not necessarily stumble, because I mean, they've done enough, especially to get 2 wins, but that they were going to be a little slow out of the gates, a little sloppy out of the gates. So that is something that I've learned. That and the fact that just Kyle Pitts sucks.
Yeah, I don't really have much more to add to that. That he might actually suck. I would say the thing that I've learned the most is like Raheem Morris is ready. Like he's been like, he waited a long time. I mean, he was like my age coaching the Buccaneers like a decade ago. It's like he wasn't ready at that point. He paid his dues. He reinvented himself multiple times over. I saw what Andy Reid said to him about him after the game. He's like, "Oh, the Falcons are good hands with him," and I feel like I can appreciate like the best coach in the NFL right now saying that. Leads me to believe that he's going to go about this as the CEO type that we need. He's leaning on Jimmy Lake to do what he needs to with defense, and more importantly, he's allowing Zach Robinson the opportunity to learn on the fly here. It was always going to be an adjustment here. And I appreciate that. It hasn't always been smooth sailing, but like I've been pleasantly surprised with how, I wouldn't even say this, or I think how organized. It just seems like they're all pulling in the same direction. It's been a very pleasant surprise there from the coaching staff.
I agree with that. It's a good answer.
Yeah, try to go something different on the fly because I had the exact same thing for you. And what's the one thing with the Falcons you're going to keep getting wrong no matter what?
One thing about the Falcons, do you have one? Why don't you go first, and then I'll chime in.
I think I'm going to keep getting wrong. I think that we're going to win games comfortably, and we never are. It's going to be the same nonsense like this for the rest of my life. Yeah. This is how it's always going to be. I go up in there, just expecting just the unexpected with every single game that this team plays. They're going to win to win close. They may lose ugly, and they will lose even uglier by like a point. It's just this is in their nature, and until like there's some major catalyst for change. I don't know who that is. I don't know what needs to happen, but like this is how every Falcons game is going to go for the foreseeable future. It's going to take years off my life. So yeah, buckle in there, bud.
I think what I'll say, and I don't know if I don't know where I stand on this. I may keep getting wrong how good Bijan Robinson is. And I hesitate to say that because it is very clear that Bijan's very good. He's a very dynamic weapon. But heading into the season, and I still do believe this to some extent, that he was going to be like the next Christian McCaffrey. And I mean, that to answer the question, I'm probably still going to think that for the next little while, but I may still be just wrong about that.
Yes, I've been going back and forth with him a little bit. It's like he's there. He needs to take one more leap, and he's there. And I can't wait for him to do it. He's not quite there, but like I'm waiting for it to happen. And as soon as he does, look out in FC. It's going to be incredible.
Right. But also maybe we're just going to keep being wrong about that. Maybe he's going to be like a dynamic weapon, but not like a McCaffrey guy.
That's fine. It's still better than
which is still good.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll take that.
But for the time being, I'm still going to believe he's going to turn into Christian McCaffrey.
I love that. Finally, we're going to move to our last topic for the day. We're going to do some dudes remembering birds here with we each got two, and we're going to finish up with a guy that is both a Buccaneers and Falcons legend. I'm going to start with linebacker Jesse Tuggle. Yes, the Hammer. I know he predates you a little bit, but I saw him there at the Ring of Honor, and he looks like he could still play. Like he's in a fantastic shape. Played at Valdosta State. Played his entire career with the Falcons, 5 Pro Bowls, one time second team All Pro, led the NFL tackles a bunch. Like he made all sorts of plays. Very much an integral part of the team becoming like what we've seen, like the swagger, the cool part. You know, he was the other really great player when Deion Sanders was coming up. He's just been a good ambassador there. I think he is Grady Jarrett's father. That's a little dicey and stuff there too. But like Jesse Tuggle there as a kid, like that was a guy that you would tune in. It didn't matter how good or bad the Falcons were. You know, he was going to go out there. He was going to make plays. That team could be 11-5. This team could be, 3-13, but Jesse Tuggle was out there making plays. I always respected him.
I have nothing to say because I think he was before my time.
Yeah, a little bit there, but he probably got something to say there with this next guy. You've got Rod Coleman.
Yes, Rod Coleman, who, and I talked about this last time I was on, is that the 2005, 2006, 2007 Falcons teams hold a very special place in my heart. So every time I come on this show and we do this segment, I'm going to pick guys from that team. And Rod Coleman, who, once I looked into him, actually wasn't on the Falcons for as long as I thought he was. And if you would have asked me before, like I looked into this, like earlier today, I would have thought Rod Coleman was on the Falcons for like a decade. He was only there from 2004 to 2007, but second team All-Pro and a Pro Bowler in 2005. So it makes sense why he's a name that sticks out, because heading into the 2006 season, I was like, oh, Rod Coleman's our guy. He's unbelievable. So short time in Atlanta, a lot shorter than I thought. He was there from 04 to 07. So 4 years? But very good. A couple of very good seasons. I mean, obviously second team All-Pro in 2005 is massive. So yeah, but then he did unfortunately go to the Saints after, but he was a practice squad guy, so not really. But yeah, started in Oakland with the Raiders, and then kind of the meat of his career came with the Falcons. But yeah, I was surprised that I would have guessed he was with Atlanta for a lot longer than he was.
Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't realize his career was like that short. I knew he came from somewhere else. Like I remember looking into this, like when we were gonna do this segment, like eventually you or somebody was going to remember a dude that I had to be refreshed on. Because again, like for whatever reason, like I know he was great there with like 04, 05, 06 with Atlanta and everything like that. But for some reason, it just slipped my mind. It happens. There's just a lot of dudes to remember. And, we're getting up there in age, can't remember everything. But he came over there as part of Jim Mora Jr. staff, and then was there with the Bobby Petrino team. Obviously, Mike Smith comes in, maybe changes the defense a little bit. Didn't really last very long with the Saints after that. But yes, I definitely remember that, like when Grady Jarrett was starting to figure it out, people were like, oh, he's like Rod Coleman. I'm like, oh yeah, that was kind of what triggered that memory there for me. Yeah, great player. I thought he was here longer, but I could have sworn he would have been here for like 6-8 years, but it was like 4.
Yeah. Yeah. Rod Coleman of those teams. For some reason, that's a name that always sticks out in my mind.
Yes. definitely. I'm going to remember punter Matt Bosher. Yes. I just kind of like, I always gravitate toward guys out there that look like could be me out there playing. There was a play, I think you were playing the Panthers. He tackled some guy or suplexed him on a kickoff. I'm like, that was amazing. He had that Got Milk commercial. Never quite a Pro Bowler, had a pretty long career there with the Falcons, kicking punts and stuff like that. I kind of always, at that point in my fandom, I kind of was like, okay, at least the Falcons are kind of solid on special teams for the most part. We can defense, nah. Offense, we'll see, but I kind of always appreciated that, like the art of punting. Whenever he was out there, it was always entertaining. Like sometimes he'd make a great kick, sometimes he'd get one blocked. I just remember him out there. Just your eyes would go to him whenever he was out there. Bradley Penny, it's like, okay, where's the ball going? Matt Bosher, he's doing stuff. I don't know what he's doing. He's just out there doing stuff.
Yeah, so it's funny when I agreed to come on and you sent me this segment and you had the players listed. Before I saw the players that you listed, I was going to pick a punter to talk about, and then I saw you pick Bosher. So I do have a punter I want to talk about, but next time I come on, we'll talk about that punter. But yeah, Matt Bosher was a staple for us for almost a decade. So I have very little to say about punters, so shout out Matt Bosher. But yeah, he's a Falcon staple. Yeah, I'm excited for next time I come on because there's a punter that I do have a lot of thoughts about. I'll talk about him next time.
I love that. And we're going to go on with your pick, guy in the Ring of Honor, Mud Duck, Todd McClure.
Yeah, Todd McClure. 7th round draft pick out of LSU. So to be able to get a guy who is a 7th round pick to be the staple for us at center for 13 seasons, 14 seasons, pretty impressive. Falcons Ring of Honor, like you said. I was shocked to find out no Pro Bowls, no All Pros, no Pro Bowls. He was always like a good center. So like, I'm shocked, like even a couple years and sneak into a Pro Bowl. Yeah. Blasphemy. Tom McClure. There must have been a couple years Tom McClure deserved to be in the Pro Bowl. But yeah, he was, when I thought of like Falcons offensive lineman for like a decade, I think of Todd McClure.
He made the guys around him better too. Like Justin Boylock got better too. Right guard Garrett Reynolds, all those guys out there. He was the anchor there. Yeah. And 7th round pick out of LSU, played his whole career here. You got a guy from Louisiana to become a Falcons fan. Yes, he played here, but like pretty impressive there. The one thing that when I think about him the most is just like what happens when you don't have a good center. Like the gap between him and Alex Mack with Mike Person just snapping the ball, sliding around the turf like a hockey puck. You know, we've seen some stuff there. When you don't have a good center, you have no chance, and you can't pass the ball. That's probably why, unfortunately, it ended for Mike Smith in Atlanta, because they failed with Dimitroff with addressing the fact that Tom McClure retired after the 2012 season, and there was nothing the Falcons could do. Matt Ryan was just being eaten alive.
Yep. He started in 195 games, played in 198 games. Todd McClure started in 195 of them from 1999 to 2012. So, I mean, when you think about a guy, a pure Atlanta Falcon, you got to think about Todd McClure.
Absolutely.
Only team he played for, long career, staple at center, started 195 games. Todd McClure.
Definitely. And the guy we're going to remember together, Falcons and Buccaneers legend, Warwick Dunn.
Do you think, just really quick, because you said he's a Falcons and Buccaneer, do you think non-Falcons and Buccaneers fans, do you think they think of him as a Buck or as a Falcon?
Oh, that's so close. It's pretty evenly split. I think his numbers were better in Atlanta. He had more Pro Bowls with the Bucs. I think he left like right when the Bucs won the Super Bowl too, so that's a little confusing. Maybe he was strictly a Tony Dungy guy. He did get Walter Payton here playing for Atlanta. Only Falcon to ever win that award in the Ring of Honor. Well, I think well over 10,000 rushing yards. Should get more love for Canton than he does. It's really borderline here. It's like, do you think Deion Sanders is more of a Falcon or a Cowboy? It's kind of right there.
Deion Sanders, I think, of more as a Cowboy, to be completely honest.
That's fair. Yeah, but it's like there's it's probably even closer than that. I'm trying to think who else would be like a good example of that in the NFL, where it's just so incredibly borderline. Again, like players like this don't like have two incredible careers like with two different teams for that length of time.
Yeah. I mean, listen, like I said, the teams I think about are 2005, 2006, 2007, and that was work done. He was one of the reasons why I became a fan of the Falcons. They had the best rushing attack in the NFL there for a number of years. Last time I was on, we talked about a guy who backed up work done, Jarius Norwood. But I think work done, as good of a football player as he is, in even better human being, an all-time human being in terms of doing things for the community. So, I mean, that's, the fact that he won the Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year award is, an example of that, proof of that, I should say. So yeah, he was a fantastic football player, 3-time Pro Bowler, offensive rookie of the year, somehow an even better human being by all reports. So love work done.
Yeah, great everywhere he played. Fantastic at FSU. Obviously, that's the thing about work done. It's just the off the field stuff. Obviously, the tragedy that happened to his mom growing up in Louisiana and turning that into such a tremendous positive, not just during his playing career, but now and beyond. And I believe he's a minority owner of the Falcons. I think Art Point gave him some equity within the team. So that's pretty exciting.
Averaged 5.4 yards per carry in 2003, 5.1 yards per carry in 2005. With the Falcons. So yeah, he was, and then he did actually have one season back in Tampa Bay in 2008. He went back to Tampa for 1 year.
I knew he went somewhere else. I completely forgot.
Yeah,
Might as well
back to Tampa Bay.
Yeah, the DVD Falcons. That was such an integral part of my fandom too. And obviously that's when you first kind of became a fan. So that's really exciting.
Yep.
Yes. We're gonna wrap the show up here. Just make sure to like and subscribe to the show on YouTube. You can follow me, John Buhler, on Twitter or the X at Buhler118. You can follow Iain MacMillan at Iain MacBets, IAINMACBETS. I spelled it right twice in a row. Third time, I'm going to screw this up. Yeah, you have to go to the more Scottish spelling of the of the both first name and last name. Is your middle name Scottish too?
Michael, which I don't think is Scottish.
No, that's my middle name too.
Oh, there you go.
There we go, man. You got anything you want to plug today?
Yeah, if you're into betting, check out the Bacon Bets podcast. I bet on all 272 NFL games. So if you're looking for some picks for the NFL season, check out the Bacon Bets podcast. Other than that, fellow Falcons fans out there, it's going to be a long season. There's going to be ups. There's going to be downs. It's going to be a roller coaster. We're going to suffer some heartbreaking losses along the way, but we're all in this together. Let's get to the playoffs. For you people in Atlanta, go to the games. Week 1 with Pittsburgh in our stadium was embarrassing.
They traveled
let's show a little bit more support. I'm going to be honest, Falcons fans, we're not the best fan base in the NFL, and we need to fix that. Not just this year and the years moving forward. I know Georgia people a little bit more college football than the NFL. We got a team this year. Let's get to the stadium. Let's support the boys. Get a couple hot dogs. Watch the game, and let's try to be better fans, all of us.
Yes, I'll finish with this. We've been incredibly fractured. People have been really frustrated about the Super Bowl years ago, and obviously the end of the Matt Ryan era and stuff. But this is a team worth rooting for. There's a lot of positive things going on. There's a lot of people that are pulling in the same direction. For the first time in like 6 or 7 years, this feels like a pretty competent operation. And so go out and support this team. This is a team that will support you. This has been the most optimistic I've been about the Falcons since 2017.
Which is why I say this, John, because we've seen the Falcons fan base show up and be a great fan base. But it's just when things don't work out, we fracture a little bit. Let's come together. We can make some noise this year, guys. We got a team that can make some noise. The NFC is wide open. It's right there for the taking. The 49ers aren't as good as they were last year. The Cowboys stink. The Eagles stink. It's gettable. It's a gettable conference. So let's come together and let's do this thing.
Let's come together right now. And this was the Blog and Dirty Podcast.